The lights in the council chamber were bright and cold. Taemin stood inside a glowing cage made of blue energy. His hands were locked in metal cuffs in front of him. His black hair hung down over his face, dirty and tangled. His gray prison clothes had holes in them. Dried blood stained his collar and sleeves. Around him sat the leaders of the Galactic Council. They came from different worlds across the stars. Some had scales. Some had crystals growing from their bodies. Some looked almost human but weren't. All of them stared at Taemin with cold eyes. The speaker of the council was named Velrith. She looked like she was made of clear glass filled with moving light. She was tall, maybe 3 meters high. She raised 3 of her arms and pointed at Taemin. "This human is charged with murder," Velrith said. Her voice sounded like breaking ice. "He killed 400 innocent people on Velos Prime. He killed 17 peacekeepers who tried to stop him. We found him covered in their blood. The proof is clear." Taemin didn't move. He stared past the council members at the big window behind them. Through it he could see stars. So many stars. He wondered if his sister could see those same stars now, wherever she was. "Does the accused have anything to say?" Velrith asked. Taemin's throat felt dry. His voice came out quiet and rough. "No," whispers spread through the chamber. The council members talked to each other in low voices. One of them, a being with 4 arms named Thex, leaned forward. "Humans always talk," Thex said. "They argue. They explain. They never stay quiet. Why is this one different?" "Maybe he knows he's guilty," another council member said. "Maybe he's a monster who feels nothing," said another. Taemin closed his eyes. "Monster. Yes." Maybe they were right. His hands had been covered in blood. He had set the fires. He had watched people burn. What else would you call someone who did that? Velrith raised her arms again. "Then it is the judgment of this council that—" The doors exploded. Metal screamed. Stone cracked and fell from the walls. Something huge forced its way through the entrance to the chamber. The doors hadn't been built for anything that size. But it came through anyway. Council members scrambled backward. Some jumped over their seats. Others froze in fear. A dragon squeezed into the council chamber. It wasn't small. It wasn't like the little flying lizard some aliens kept as pets. This was a real dragon from the old stories. It was 20 meters long from nose to tail. Its scales shined like polished bronze in the light. Its wings scraped against the ceiling as it moved. Its eyes burned yellow and orange like twin suns. The dragon looked old, ancient. Its scales had patterns that might have been scars or might have been symbols from a language older than most species in the room. "Impossible," Thex whispered. His 4 arms shook. "The dragons haven't involved themselves in our affairs for 10,000 years.
Why now?"
The dragon's massive head turned. Its burning eyes looked right at Taemin. The blue energy cage around the human sparked. Then it flickered. Then it died completely. The dragon's power was too strong for the barrier. The dragon walked forward. Each step shook the floor. Its claws left deep marks in the metal. It moved until its huge head was level with Taemin's face. The human could feel heat coming off the dragon's scales, could see himself reflected in those burning eyes. Then the dragon did something nobody expected. It bent its front legs. It lowered its huge body. It knelt. A dragon was kneeling before a human. The council chamber went completely silent. Even the whispers stopped. Even the sound of breathing seemed too loud. The dragon's voice rumbled through the room like distant thunder. "My name is Kael'thorn. I am of the Igranthar, the oldest dragons. I have lived for 10,000 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched species learn to walk among the stars." Kael'thorn's burning eyes never left Taemin's face. "And I am here to speak for this human. For Taemin of Earth, the one you call a monster." Velrith found her voice first, but it shook when she spoke. "Kael'thorn of the Igranthar, your people have not interfered in galactic politics for millennia. Why break that tradition now? Why for this? This murderer?" The dragon's head swung to face Velrith. When he spoke, his voice was sharp enough to cut. "Murderer? Is that what you call someone who saved 17,000 lives? He killed 400 people," Thex shouted. His voice cracked with anger and fear. "We have video. We have proof. He was covered in blood. Bodies surrounded him. What more proof do we need?" "Yes," Kael'thorn said. "You have video of the aftermath. But tell me, council member, what happened before that moment? What does your video show of the hours before you found him?" Thex opened his mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. The video from that time period is damaged. We couldn't recover it. How convenient. Calethorn's tail lashed out. It hit the floor hard enough to crack the metal. Let me tell you what your damaged video doesn't show. Light spilled from the dragon's scales. It filled the air between them and formed pictures, moving pictures. A hologram that everyone could see. The hologram showed a planet, Velos Prime. It had cities under clear domes. It had green valleys where nothing had grown naturally before. Aliens lived there, thousands of them, going about their normal lives. Then the hologram changed. It showed people getting sick. Blue and gray spots appeared on their skin. The spots spread. People started dying. The crimson shade, someone whispered. That plague was destroyed centuries ago. Was it? Calethorn asked. The hologram changed again. It showed sealed containers in a hidden lab. It showed figures in shadows moving those containers. Or was it stored away?
Kept as a weapon?
The hologram continued. It showed a young woman with dark hair. She wore a medical uniform. Her name tag said Hana. She was human. She looked tired and scared. Blue spots were spreading across her face. The hologram showed her recording a message. Her hand shook as she spoke. Taemin, if you get this message, don't come here. It's too late for me. Too late for all of us. The sickness broke out of quarantine. It's spreading fast. The council is going to destroy the whole colony, all 17,000 people. They say it's the only way to stop the plague from spreading to other worlds. The woman in the video started crying. Tell Mom and Dad that I love them. Tell them I tried to help as many as I could. Tell them. The video cut to black. Taemin made a sound. It was small and broken. The first real sound he'd made since entering the council chamber. The hologram showed more. A small ship breaking through orbital defenses. Security systems trying to shoot it down. The ship barely making it to the planet's surface. It showed a man climbing out of the crashed ship. Taemin. Younger. Not covered in blood yet. Running toward the quarantine zone. He received his sister's message, Calethorn said softly. He had been off-world working on another colony. By the time he got the message and reached Velos Prime, 400 people were infected. His sister was already dead. The council had ordered the planet's destruction. Orbital weapons were being prepared. The hologram showed Taemin inside the quarantine zone. He wore protective gear, but it was already torn. Already compromised. He moved among the sick and dying. Among the dead. His face was visible through his cracked helmet. Tears ran down his cheeks. What is he doing? Velrith asked. Her voice was quieter now. Saving everyone else, Calethorn answered. The hologram showed Taemin gathering bodies, pulling them into the central medical building, moving the infected people there too, working frantically, setting up equipment, placing charges throughout the building.
Fire, Calethorn said.
The Crimson Shade cannot survive extreme heat. Taemin knew this. He had worked in Earth's emergency response units. He knew plagues. He knew this one. The hologram showed flames, the building burning, Taemin standing outside, his whole body shaking, covered in ash and blood. He burned the infected to stop the plague from spreading. He burned his sister's body. He burned 400 people, some already dead, some dying, to save 17,000 others. Then he walked out of that fire, and your peacekeepers found him. Calethorn turned his burning gaze on each council member. You saw a human covered in blood and assumed he was a killer. You didn't ask questions. You didn't investigate. You saw what you expected to see. The dragon looked back at Taemin, at the human who stood with his head down and his hands in chains. You call him a monster. But I have lived 10,000 years. I know what monsters look like. And this is not one. The council chamber stayed silent for a long time. No one seemed to know what to say. Speaker Velrith's body flickered with different colors. Her people did that when they felt strong emotions. Right now she looked confused and maybe scared. This is unprecedented, Velrith finally said. She tried to sound strong, but her voice shook a little. Calethorn, your people haven't interfered in galactic politics for thousands of years. Why are you here now? Why are you defending this human? Calethorn's massive head turned to look at her. His burning eyes made Velrith take a step back even though she was far away from him. I am here because this human did what none of you had the courage to do, Calethorn said. His voice rumbled like an earthquake. He saved 17,000 lives. And you dare to call him a butcher? Councillor Thek slammed all four of his fists on his desk. This is ridiculous. We have proof. The security footage shows him covered in blood. Bodies were everywhere around him. How can you deny that? I don't deny it, Kelthorne said. Yes, he was covered in blood. Yes, bodies surrounded him. But tell me, counselor, whose blood was it? What killed those people? Thex's mouth opened, then closed. He looked confused. The footage from before that moment is corrupted, another council member said. We couldn't recover it to see what happened. How convenient, Kelthorne said again. His tail moved and hit the floor. The sound echoed through the chamber. Your footage is corrupted at the most important moment. Let me show you what really happened. More light came from the dragon's scales. New holograms formed in the air. This time they showed things the council hadn't seen before. The hologram showed Velos Prime again. But this time it showed what happened before Taemin arrived. It showed people in dark clothes moving through the colony. It showed them opening sealed containers. The containers had warning symbols on them. Biohazard symbols. Someone released the crimson shade on purpose, Kelthorne said. It wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. The council members leaned forward. Some of them looked shocked. Others looked angry. The hologram changed. It showed the plague spreading. People getting sick. Medical workers trying to help but getting infected themselves. Hana, Taemin's sister, was one of them. She worked day and night to save people even as the blue spots appeared on her own skin. Then the hologram showed something else. Council ships in orbit. Weapons powering up. A countdown timer appeared. In 6 hours they would fire on the colony. They would destroy everything to stop the plague from spreading to other worlds. The council ordered the colony's destruction, Kelthorne said. All 17,000 people would have died. Infected and healthy alike. Men, women, children. All of them. Velrith's light flickered faster. We had no choice. The crimson shade is one of the most dangerous plagues in the galaxy. It spreads fast. It kills within days. If it reached other worlds, if someone had bothered to check, they would have known the plague has a weakness. Kelthorne interrupted. Extreme heat destroys it. But no one checked. No one investigated. You just ordered the destruction of 17,000 people. The hologram showed Taemin's ship arriving, showed him breaking through security, crashing on the planet's surface, running toward the quarantine zone. He got his sister's message too late to save her, Kelthorne continued. But he got there in time to save everyone else. He knew about the crimson shade. He had trained for situations like this on Earth. He knew fire would kill the plague. The hologram showed everything now, showed Taemin finding his sister's body, showed him crying over her, then showed him wiping his tears and getting to work. He gathered all the infected bodies. He moved them to the central medical facility. Then he went back for the people who were still alive but infected. 400 people total, some already dead, some dying, some still fighting the sickness. What is he doing? Someone asked. Making an impossible choice, Kelthorne said quietly. The hologram showed Taemin talking to the infected people who could still understand him. His lips moved behind his cracked helmet. No sound came from the hologram, but his face showed everything. Pain, sorrow, determination. Then he set the charges. Placed them carefully throughout the building. He moved slowly, like every step hurt him, like he was carrying a weight heavier than mountains. The hologram showed him leaving the building. Standing outside, his finger on the detonator. He stood there for a long moment, just standing, staring at the building, at the people inside. Then he pressed the button. The building exploded into flames. The fire was hot enough to be white, hot enough to destroy the plague completely, hot enough to cremate 400 people in minutes. Taemin fell to his knees. The hologram showed him kneeling in the ash and smoke. His shoulders shook. He was crying, but no tears could fall in the heat. He burned them all, Kelthorne said. His voice was soft now, gentle. The dead and the dying. He burned his sister's body. He burned people who begged him to save them. He burned them because it was the only way to save everyone else. The hologram showed more, showed Taemin getting up, going back into the colony, organizing the survivors, making sure they had food and water, treating the ones who had other injuries, working for hours even though he was infected himself now, even though the plague was in his blood. He stayed with them until Earth Federation rescue ships arrived. Kelthorne said. He made sure all 16,600 survivors were safe. Only then did he allow himself to collapse. The plague was killing him by then. But he had done it. He had saved them. The hologram showed council peacekeepers arriving, finding Taemin unconscious, covered in blood and ash. They didn't ask questions. They just put him in chains. You found him like that and called him a monster, Kilthorne said. He looked at each council member slowly. You didn't investigate. You didn't ask why a human would risk everything to reach a plague zone. You just assumed the worst. Velrith's light had dimmed. She looked smaller now. If this is true, if he really saved all those people, why didn't he defend himself? Why didn't he tell us this? For the first time since Kilthorne had started showing the holograms, Taemin spoke. His voice was rough and quiet, but everyone heard it. Because I killed them, he said. Everyone turned to look at him. They were dying, yes. Most were already dead, but some were still alive. Some looked at me and begged me to save them, and I burned them anyway. Taemin's hands shook in his chains. I can still hear them screaming. I can still smell their flesh burning. How do you defend that? How do you tell people you burned 400 people and expect them to understand? His voice broke. My sister died thinking I would save her. She died waiting for me, and when I got there, all I could do was burn her body. So no, I have no defense. I did what I had to do, but that doesn't make it right. Kilthorne lowered his huge head next to Taemin. The dragon's burning eyes looked at the human with something like kindness. You carry their deaths like a weight, Kilthorne said softly. You blame yourself for not arriving sooner, for not saving them all. That is not the thinking of a monster. Monsters don't feel guilt. They don't carry the weight of those they couldn't save. The dragon turned back to the council. This human made a terrible choice, the kind of choice no one should ever have to make. He chose to burn 400 people to save 17,000. He chose to act when action meant living with nightmares forever. He chose to sacrifice his own peace of mind, his own soul to save strangers. Kilthorne's voice grew louder. And when you should have honored him as a hero, when you should have thanked him for saving all those lives, you threw him in chains. You called him a monster. You beat him. You denied him medical treatment even though he was dying from the plague. You did all of this because it was easier to blame a human than to admit the truth. What truth? Thex asked. His voice was quiet now. That the plague was released deliberately by members of your own species, said a new voice. A human woman walked into the chamber. She wore an Earth Federation uniform. Her badge said her name was Captain Jiwoo. She carried a data tablet that projected images into the air. My name is Captain Jiwoo, she said. I've spent 3 months investigating what really happened on Velos Prime. I found what the Council's investigators missed, or what they chose not to see. She pressed a button on her tablet. Documents appeared in the air. Financial records, communication logs, video footage that wasn't corrupted. The Crimson Shade was released by a group called the Velothian Purist Movement, Jiwoo said. They believed their colony had become too mixed. Too many different species living together. They wanted everyone dead so the Council would be forced to destroy the colony. They wanted to create martyrs for their cause. More documents appeared. Communications between the terrorists. Plans, schedules, celebrations when the first people got sick. They didn't expect a human to land, Jiwoo continued. They didn't expect anyone to know about the heat weakness. They expected everyone to die and the Council to destroy the evidence with orbital weapons. Instead, Taemin saved everyone and exposed their plan. She looked at the Council members. 3 members of this terrorist group have been arrested. 5 others killed themselves when Earth Federation investigators found them. We're still hunting the rest. But the proof is clear. This was an attack. And Taemin stopped it. The Council chamber erupted in noise. Council members shouted questions. Others argued. Some sat in silence looking shocked. Through it all, Taemin just stood there with his head down, and Kilthorne stayed beside him, a dragon kneeling next to a broken human. The noise in the council chamber slowly died down. Speaker Velrith raised her arms for silence. It took several minutes before everyone stopped talking. Velrith looked different now. Her crystal body had stopped flickering. Instead, she glowed with a soft, sad light. When she spoke, her voice was quiet. Captain Jiwoo, these are serious accusations. Do you have proof that will stand up in a court of law? Jiwoo nodded. I do. I have financial records showing money transfers from the terrorist group. I have communication logs of them planning the attack. I have video footage of them stealing the plague containers from a secret storage facility. And I have confessions from 3 of the terrorists we captured. She pressed another button on her tablet. Audio began to play. Voices speaking in the Velothian language. The computer translated them into common galactic speech. The containers are in place, one voice said. We'll release the plague tomorrow during the market hours. Maximum exposure, another voice laughed. It was a cruel sound. Finally, we'll cleanse our world of the impure. The council will have to destroy the colony. They'll have no choice. And our people will see what happens when we allow outsiders to live among us. What about the innocents? A third voice asked. Our own people will die too. Martyrs for the cause, the first voice said. Their sacrifice will inspire others. The Velothian people will rise up across the galaxy. We'll take back what's ours. The audio continued. It showed the terrorists celebrating as people got sick, laughing as the death count rose. Then later their panic when they realized something had gone wrong. There's a human in the colony, a voice said, frightened now. He's doing something at the medical facility. He's gathering the infected. Stop him. We can't. The council peacekeepers are watching. If we reveal ourselves of the fire, he's burning them. He knows about the heat weakness. This wasn't supposed to happen. The audio cut off. Jiwoo looked at the council members. These recordings are authenticated. We have genetic evidence from the plague containers matching samples from the terrorists' hideout. We have everything we need. Counselor Thex stood up. All 4 of his arms hung at his sides. He looked tired. Why did this take 3 months to discover? Why didn't our own investigators find this? Jiwoo's expression hardened. Because some of your investigators were involved in the cover-up. We've arrested 4 council security officers who took money to hide evidence. They're the ones who corrupted the video footage. They're the ones who prevented a proper investigation. The council chamber erupted in noise again. This time it was anger. Council members shouted at each other. Some demanded answers. Others tried to defend themselves. Velrith called for silence again. When the noise died down, she looked at Taemin. Really looked at him. The human hadn't moved. He stood there in his chains, his head still down. Taemin of Earth, Velrith said slowly. We owe you an apology that words cannot express. We have treated you with cruelty when you deserved honor. We have called you a monster when you are a hero. I don't want your apologies, Taemin interrupted. His voice was flat, empty. I want you to tell the families of those 400 people what really happened. I want them to know their loved ones died because of terrorists, not because I'm a monster. I want my sister Hana to be remembered as a hero who died trying to save others. I want the truth to be known. He lifted his head and looked at Velrith directly. And I want you to remember those 400 names. Every single one. Because I remember them. I dream about them every night. They deserve to be more than numbers. Before anyone could respond, the chamber doors opened again. This time they opened normally. An old human man walked in. He used a walking stick. Behind him came a group of people. Humans, Velothians, and others. Maybe 20 people total. Ambassador Dongmin, Jiwoo said. I didn't know you were on the station. The old man smiled. I arrived this morning. I brought some people who need to speak. He looked at the council members. Speaker Velrith counselors, I present survivors of Velos Prime. People who were there. People who lived because of Taemin. A young Velothian woman stepped forward. She looked about 20 years old. Scars marked her skin where the plague spots had been. She walked until she stood in front of the council. My name is Kalira, she said. Her voice shook but stayed strong. I was 12 years old when the plague started. I watched my parents get sick. I watched the spots spread across their skin. I watched them die in 2 days. She looked at Taemin. When the human came, I was terrified. He was covered in blood. His protective suit was torn. I could see his face through the cracked helmet. He was crying. I thought he was death itself coming for me. Kalira's voice softened. But he wasn't. He carried my parents' bodies to the medical facility. So gentle, like they still mattered, like they were still people and not just dead meat. Then he came back for me and the other survivors. He gave us food, water, he organized us. He stayed with us even though he was getting sick himself. She turned back to the council. He saved my life. He saved 16,600 lives. And you put him in chains. Another person stepped forward. An older human man with gray hair. My name is Hyunsik. I was a maintenance worker on Velos Prime. I was there when Taemin set those charges. I tried to stop him. I was scared of the fire. Scared of what would happen. Hyunsik's eyes filled with tears. He looked at me and said, I know you're scared. I'm scared too. But if we don't do this, everyone dies. I'll take the blame. I'll be the one who did it. But please help me save them. The old man wiped his eyes. There were 12 of us who helped him. We moved bodies. We set charges. We did everything together. But when the council peacekeepers came, Taemin told us to stay quiet. He said one person in prison was better than 12. He protected us. He took all the blame himself. One by one, the survivors told their stories. A Velothian man who had been infected but survived because Taemin got him to the Earth Federation rescue ships in time. A human woman who had lost her daughter and watched Taemin cry over the child's body before adding her to the fire. A young boy who Taemin had carried to safety when he was too weak to walk. Each story painted the same picture. A human who had made terrible choices in an impossible situation. A human who had cried for every death. A human who had saved everyone he could and carried the weight of those he couldn't save. By the time the last survivor finished speaking, several council members were showing signs of distress. Some species cried, others showed emotion in different ways. The chamber had become very quiet. Speaker Velrith rose from her seat. Her light had changed. It was softer now. Warmer. She looked at Taemin for a long moment. Taemin of Earth, she said, I have been Speaker of this council for 200 years. In that time, I have made many decisions. Some good, some bad. But this is the worst mistake I have ever made. She stepped down from her platform and walked toward him. The other council members watched in surprise. Speakers rarely left their platforms during formal proceedings. Velrith stopped in front of Taemin. She raised all 6 of her arms in a gesture of deep apology. In her culture, it was the highest form of saying sorry, the kind of apology given only once or twice in a lifetime. On behalf of the Galactic Council, I offer our deepest apologies. We have wronged you terribly. We have caused you pain on top of pain. We have taken a hero and treated him like a criminal, and for that we are deeply ashamed. She gestured to the guards. Remove his chains immediately. The guards rushed forward. They unlocked the metal cuffs on Taemin's wrists. The cuffs fell to the floor with a clang. Taemin rubbed his wrists slowly. He had worn those chains for 3 months. His skin showed marks where the metal had rubbed it raw. Counselor Theck stood up. He made the apology gesture of his people, lowering all 4 arms and bowing his head. I voted to convict you without seeing all the evidence. I assumed the worst because of stories I heard about humans. About your violence. Your aggression. I was wrong. I am sorry. Other council members stood. One by one, they made their own gestures of apology. Not all of them. Some remained seated, still stubborn or still processing what they had learned, but most stood. Taemin looked at them all. His face showed no emotion, just emptiness, like he had felt too much and now felt nothing at all. Then he turned to Kalethorn. The dragon had stayed quiet during all the testimonies. Now Taemin reached out and placed his hand on the dragon's massive scales. Thank you, Taemin said quietly, for coming, for speaking for me when I couldn't speak for myself. Kalethorn lowered his huge head until his burning eyes were level with Taemin's face. I came because I saw something in you that needed to be seen, something the galaxy was too blind to recognize. True courage doesn't mean being unafraid. It means acting despite fear. It means choosing to save others even when it destroys you. The dragon's voice rumbled through the chamber. You made an impossible choice. You saved 17,000 people, and then you carried the weight of the 400 you couldn't save. That is not the mark of a monster. That is the mark of someone who understands the true cost of heroism. Taemin's eyes filled with tears for the first time since entering the chamber. He leaned forward until his forehead touched Kalethorn's scales. I dream about them every night, he whispered. The ones who were still alive. The ones who looked at me with hope even as I set the charges. I hear them screaming in the fire. How do I live with that? By living, Kalethorn said gently. By continuing. By using this pain to help others so they never have to make the choices you made. The dead don't need your guilt. They need you to make their deaths mean something. Taemin stood there for a long moment, his head against the dragon's scales. Then he stepped back and wiped his eyes. He turned to face the council again. I'll accept your apologies, but I have conditions. The council members leaned forward. Speaker Velrith tilted her head, curious. Conditions? What do you mean? Taemin took a deep breath. His voice was stronger now, more focused. First, I want a memorial. A real memorial, with all 417 names carved into it. Not just on Velos Prime. I want one here at the council headquarters, too. I want everyone who visits this place to see those names and know what happened. Velrith nodded slowly. That can be arranged. Second, Taman continued, I want the truth published everywhere. Every news station. Every planet. Every colony. I want the galaxy to know about the Velothian purist movement. I want everyone to know that terrorists released the plague. That 400 people died because of hate, and that 17,000 people lived because we stopped it. Agreed, Velrith said. Third, Taman's voice grew harder now. I want every person involved in the cover-up prosecuted. The security officers who hid evidence, the investigators who didn't do their jobs, anyone who knew the truth and stayed silent. All of them. Counselor Thek spoke up. Some of those people are powerful. They have connections. It won't be easy to bring them to justice. Taman looked at him directly. I spent 3 months in prison for a crime I didn't commit. I was beaten by guards. I was denied medical treatment while a plague ate me from the inside. Don't talk to me about what's easy. Thex lowered his head. You're right. We'll prosecute them all. You have my word. And fourth, Taman said, then paused. He looked at Kael'thorne. The dragon gave a small nod, encouraging him. I want something changed. This can't happen again. We need better emergency protocols, better communication between planets, better training for people who respond to plague situations. We need a system so that no one else has to make the choices I made. Captain Jiwoo stepped forward. Actually, the Council has already been working on something related to that. With your permission, I'd like to explain. Taman gestured for her to continue. Jiwoo pulled up new documents on her tablet. After the Velos Prime incident, several Council members started pushing for reform. They proposed creating a new position, a Galactic Emergency Response Coordinator, someone who could take charge during crisis situations, someone who could cut through bureaucracy and make fast decisions when lives are at stake. She looked at Taman. They want to offer you that position. Taman stared at her. What? You proved yourself in the worst possible situation, Velrith said. You made hard choices. You saved thousands of lives, and you did it despite knowing it would haunt you forever. The galaxy needs someone like you, someone who understands the real cost of these decisions, someone who won't make them lightly. No, Taman said immediately. I can't be responsible for more lives. I can't, why not? Kael'thorne asked gently. Taman turned to look at the dragon. Because I see their faces every night. Because I burned 400 people. Because my hands, he held up his hands staring at them. These hands killed people. How can I be trusted with more lives? Because those same hands saved 17,000 others, Jiwoo said. Because you know the weight of those decisions. Because you won't make them unless there's no other choice. She's right, said a voice from the survivors group. Kalira stepped forward again. You saved my life. But more than that, you cared about every single death. You didn't treat us like numbers. You treated us like people. That's what the galaxy needs. Hyunsik joined her. I watched you work for 3 days straight without sleep. I watched you give your food to children who were hungry. I watched you hold dying people and tell them they mattered. That's not someone who should be hidden away. That's someone who should be leading. More survivors stepped forward. They surrounded Taman. Each one told him why he should take the position. Why he was the right person. Why the galaxy needed him. Taman looked overwhelmed. He looked at all their faces. Then at the council members. Then at Kael'thorne. The dragon spoke quietly just for him. The choice is yours, Taman. No one can force you. But I will tell you this. You can spend the rest of your life carrying guilt. Or you can turn that guilt into purpose. You can make sure their deaths meant something. Taman closed his eyes. He was quiet for a long time. Everyone waited. The chamber was completely silent. Finally, he opened his eyes. If I do this, I do it my way. I need full authority to override council bureaucracy in emergencies. I need access to all medical databases from every species. I need a ship. A good one. Fast and equipped for medical response. And I need a team. People who actually know what they're doing. Velrith smiled. It was the first time she had smiled since the hearing started. All of that has already been approved. The position comes with emergency authority. You'd have a state-of-the-art response ship, and you can pick your own team from any species in council space. There's one more thing, Kael'thorne said. The dragon's voice rumbled through the chamber. The Agranthar Council has voted to assign a liaison to this new position. Someone to provide historical knowledge, someone to offer political support, and someone to be a friend. Taman looked at the dragon. You'd leave your homeworld? For someone who taught me that courage comes in many forms? For a friend who showed me that even the youngest species can possess ancient wisdom? Calethorn's eyes glimmered. Yes, I would do that. Something changed in Taemin's face. The emptiness began to fade. Not completely. The pain was still there. The guilt was still there. But now there was something else too. Purpose. Okay, he said quietly. I'll do it, but I need time first. I need to go to Earth. I need to see my parents. I need to attend the memorial service for Hana and the others. I need to heal a little. Of course, Velrith said. Take all the time you need. The position will be waiting when you're ready. Captain Jiwoo smiled. I've already prepared everything. Your ship is docked at Earth Station Gamma. Your quarters are ready. And I've compiled a list of potential team members. But that can wait. Right now you should rest, Taemin nodded. He looked at the council members one more time. Thank you. For listening. For believing Calethorn. He struggled to find words. For letting me save people again instead of being locked away. Velrith made a gesture of respect. No, Taemin of Earth, thank you. For saving 17,000 lives. For exposing the terrorists. For showing us our own failures. And for agreeing to help us do better. The other council members stood. They all made gestures of respect. Even the ones who had been quiet before. Even the ones who had been skeptical. Taemin turned to leave. Calethorn walked beside him, the dragon's massive form moving gracefully despite his size. The survivors followed them out. Captain Jiwoo went with them. As they left the council chamber, Taemin heard someone behind him start clapping. Then another person. Then another. Soon the entire chamber was filled with the sound of applause and the various equivalents from different species. Taemin didn't turn around. He just kept walking. But his shoulders straightened a little. His head lifted slightly. Outside the chamber, the station's corridors were busy. Aliens of all kinds walked past, going about their business. Some stopped and stared at the dragon. Others stared at Taemin. Word had already spread about what happened in the council chamber. One young alien child, some species Taemin didn't recognize, ran up to him. Are you the hero? The one who saved all those people? Taemin knelt down to the child's level. I'm someone who tried to help when people needed it. And I'm going to keep trying to help. The child smiled and ran back to their parent. Calethorn rumbled softly. That was a good answer. I'm still not sure I'm a hero, Taemin said. Perhaps not in your own eyes, the dragon replied. But heroes rarely see themselves clearly. They're too busy focusing on those they couldn't save to see all those they did. They walked to the docking bay where a ship waited. It was sleek and new, with Earth Federation markings and Council authorization codes. The words Emergency Response Ship Hana were painted on the side. Taemin stopped when he saw the name. His eyes filled with tears again. They named it after her? Jiwoo nodded. I suggested it. I thought she should be part of this. Part of saving lives. Taemin touched the ship's hull gently. She would have liked that. She always wanted to help people. Then let's make sure her name becomes known for saving lives, Calethorn said. Let's make sure that when people see this ship arriving, they feel hope instead of fear. Taemin nodded. He walked up the boarding ramp. At the top, he turned and looked back at the station. At all the people watching. At the dragon who had believed in him when no one else would. Let's go home, he said. I have some healing to do, and then I have work to start. The ship's engines powered up, and for the first time in 3 months, Taemin felt like maybe, just maybe, there was a future worth living for. 3 months had passed since the council hearing. 3 months since Taemin had been freed. 3 months since he learned his sister's name would live on. Now he stood on Earth, in a park in one of the oldest cities on the planet. Trees surrounded him, trees that had stood for hundreds of years. Behind him was a wall made of smooth black stone. On that wall were 417 names carved in silver letters. Hana's name was near the top. Taemin reached out and touched the letters of her name. The stone was cold under his fingers. Hey sis, he said quietly. I'm sorry I couldn't save you. I'm sorry I wasn't fast enough. The wind blew through the trees. It almost sounded like a voice, like Hana telling him it was okay. They named a ship after you, Taemin continued. A rescue ship. It's going to save lives all across the galaxy. Every time someone sees it coming, they'll see your name. They'll know you cared about people. That you died trying to help them. He closed his eyes. Mom and Dad came to visit last week. They cried when they saw the memorial, but they also smiled. They said you would be proud of what I'm doing. I hope that's true. I hope you'd be proud. Behind him, someone cleared their throat gently. Taemin turned to see Captain Jiwoo standing there. She held 2 cups of coffee. I thought you might want this, she said, offering him one. Thanks. Taemin took the cup. The warmth felt good in his hands. How did you know I'd be here? You come here every morning, Jiwoo said with a small smile. It's not hard to figure out. They stood together in silence for a while, drinking their coffee and looking at the memorial. Are you ready for tomorrow? Jiwoo asked. Tomorrow. Tomorrow was the official ceremony. Representatives from 12 different species would be there. Speaker Velrith would be there. The families of all 417 people would be there. And Taemin would have to speak in front of all of them. No, Taemin admitted. I don't know what to say to them. How do you tell parents that their children died? How do you tell them you were the one who... He couldn't finish. You tell them the truth, Jiwoo said. That their loved ones died because of evil people. That you tried to save everyone. That you succeeded in saving most. And that you carry their memory every day. Will that be enough? Probably not, Jiwoo said honestly. Nothing will be enough. But it's what they need to hear. They need to know someone cares. Someone remembers. Taemin nodded slowly. He looked at the names on the wall again. 417 people. Each one had been a person with dreams and fears and people who loved them. I've been having the nightmares less often, he said quietly. The therapists say that's progress. But I don't know if I want them to stop completely. It feels like if I stop dreaming about them, I'll forget them. You won't forget, Jiwoo assured him. The nightmares aren't the only way to remember. You remember them every time you help someone. Every time you save a life. That's a better memorial than nightmares. They finished their coffee in comfortable silence. Then Jiwoo checked her watch. We should head back. Kalethorn arrived this morning. He wanted to see you. Taemin's face brightened.
He's here?
I thought he wasn't coming until tomorrow. He came early. Said something about wanting to make sure you were okay. Jiwoo smiled. That dragon really cares about you. They walked through the park together. People stared as they passed. Taemin's face had been all over the news for months. Everyone knew his story now. Most people looked at him with respect. Some looked at him with pity. A few still looked at him with suspicion. A young girl ran up to them. She looked about 7 years old. She held out a piece of paper. Mr. Taemin? I drew this for you. Taemin knelt down to take the drawing. It showed a stick figure holding hands with a dragon. Above them were stars and a ship with Hana written on it. This is beautiful, Taemin said softly. What's your name? Jiyoung, the girl said shyly. My teacher told us about what you did. About how you saved all those people. She said you're a hero. Taemin's throat felt tight. I just tried to help when people needed it. That's what heroes do, Jiyoung said seriously. Then she smiled and ran back to her mother. Taemin stood up, still holding the drawing carefully. I'll never get used to that, he said. Get used to it, Jiwoo said. You're famous now, and not the bad kind of famous anymore. The good kind. They reached the transport station. A ship was waiting to take them to Earth Station Gamma, the orbital platform where Taemin's new ship was docked. Where his new life was waiting. The trip up took 30 minutes. Taemin spent the time looking out the window at Earth falling away below them. His home planet. He'd be leaving it soon, going out into the galaxy to help people on other worlds. Earth Station Gamma was huge. Thousands of people from hundreds of species lived and worked there. The station was a hub for trade and diplomacy and everything else that made the Galactic Council work. When Taemin and Jiwoo walked into the main docking bay, they found a crowd waiting. And in the middle of that crowd was Kalethorn. The dragon's full form barely fit in the docking bay. His bronze scales gleamed under the artificial lights. His wings were folded carefully to avoid hitting equipment. When he saw Taemin, his eyes brightened. My friend, Kalethorn's voice rumbled. It's good to see you. Taemin walked up to the dragon and placed his hand on those massive scales. It's good to see you too. I didn't expect you until tomorrow. I wanted to arrive early, to make sure you're truly ready for this. Kalethorn lowered his head until his eyes were level with Taemin's. How are you really doing? Taemin thought about lying. About saying he was fine. But this was Kalethorn, the dragon who had seen him at his worst and still believed in him. I'm better. Taemin said honestly. Not healed. Maybe I'll never be completely healed. But better, the nightmares are less frequent. I can think about Hana without breaking down. And I'm ready to start helping people again. Kalethorn made a rumbling sound of approval. That's all anyone can ask. Healing takes time, but you're taking steps forward. That's what matters. Jiwoo pulled out her tablet. Speaking of moving forward, we need to finalize your team. I've got candidates for medical officer, pilot, communications specialist, and engineering lead. You need to review them and make decisions. Can it wait until after the ceremony? Taemin asked. Of course, Jiwoo said, but we should move quickly after that. There are already 3 emergency situations that need response. Nothing plague level, but serious enough. Taemin nodded. The weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders again, but this time it felt different. Not crushing, just present, reminding him of what he needed to do. That evening, Taemin couldn't sleep. He stood on the observation deck of the station looking out at the stars. So many stars, so many worlds, so many people who might need help someday. Can't sleep? Kalethorn's voice asked behind him. Taemin turned. The dragon had squeezed into the observation deck somehow. How did you even fit through the door? Very carefully, Kalethorn said with what might have been amusement. But you're avoiding my question. I'm nervous about tomorrow, Taemin admitted. About seeing the families. About speaking to them. Kalethorn moved to stand beside him, looking out at the stars. What will you say to them? The truth. That I tried to save everyone. That I failed to save their loved ones. That I'm sorry. And that their loved ones' deaths meant something, Kalethorn added. That because of what happened, the galaxy is changing. Emergency protocols are being rewritten. Species are sharing medical knowledge. Terrorist groups are being hunted down. Their deaths led to all of that. Does that make it better? Taemin asked quietly. No, Kalethorn said honestly. Nothing makes it better. But it gives their deaths meaning. And sometimes meaning is all we have. They stood in silence for a while. Then Taemin asked, Do you ever regret it? Coming to the council chamber? Speaking for me. You broke 10,000 years of neutrality for your people. That must have consequences. It did, Kalethorn said. Some of my people were angry. They said I shouldn't have interfered. That we should remain separate from the younger species and their problems. And I told them that neutrality in the face of injustice is just another word for cowardice, Kalethorn said firmly. I told them that I saw something worth defending, worth believing in, and I would make the same choice again. The dragon looked at Taemin. You saved 17,000 lives. You exposed terrorists. You changed the galaxy for the better. And you did it at great personal cost. How could I not speak for you? How could I let the galaxy call you a monster when I knew the truth? Taemin felt tears in his eyes. Thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself. That's what friends do, Kalethorn said simply. The next morning came too quickly. Taemin put on formal clothes. Earth Federation dress uniform, dark blue with silver buttons. His hands shook as he fastened the buttons. Jiwoo came to get him. It's time, she said gently. The memorial ceremony was held in the same park where the wall stood. Thousands of people had gathered. Families of the dead, survivors from Velos Prime, representatives from the Galactic Council, news reporters from dozens of species. Taemin walked through the crowd. People parted to let him through. Some touched his shoulder as he passed. Others just watched quietly. He saw Kalira, the young Velothian woman who had testified at the council hearing. She smiled at him through her tears. He saw Hyun-sik, the maintenance worker who had helped him set the charges. The old man nodded respectfully. At the front near the memorial wall, Speaker Velrith waited. She glowed softly in the morning light. Next to her was Kalethorn, his massive form watching over everything. Velrith spoke first. She talked about the tragedy, about the terrorists who had caused it, about the investigation and the arrests, about the changes being made to prevent future tragedies. Her words were formal but sincere. Then she called Taemin forward. And now, I would like Taemin of Earth to speak. The man who saved 17,000 lives. The man we wrongly accused. The man who will now lead our galactic emergency response. Taemin walked to the front. He looked at all the faces watching him. So many people, so many eyes. He felt small and exposed. But then he felt Kalethorn's presence behind him, felt the dragon's warmth, felt his friend's support, and he found his voice. I don't have pretty words for you, Taemin began. His voice was rough but clear. I'm not good at speeches, but I can tell you the truth. He looked at the families of the dead. Your loved ones died because evil people released a plague. They died because terrorists wanted to create martyrs. They died because I wasn't fast enough or smart enough to save them all. His voice cracked. I carry their faces with me every day. I dream about them every night. I wish I could have saved them. I wish I could have done more. But I couldn't. Taemin took a deep breath. What I could do was save everyone else. I could stop the plague from spreading. I could prevent 17,000 more deaths. And I did that because of your loved ones, because they showed me what needed to be done, because their sacrifice bought time for the rest. He gestured to the memorial wall. These names represent people who mattered, people who were loved, people who should still be here. I will never forget them, and I promise you that I will spend the rest of my life making sure no one else has to make the choices I made, making sure no other families have to stand at a memorial like this. He looked directly at one couple in the front row. They were Hana's age, probably parents of one of the victims. Your loved ones deserved better than they got. They deserved to live. They deserved to grow old and be happy. I couldn't give them that, but I can make sure their deaths led to something good. I can make sure the galaxy learns from this tragedy. That's all I can offer, and I know it's not enough. It will never be enough, but it's all I have. Taemin stepped back. The crowd was silent. Then slowly someone started clapping. The couple in the front row. The parents. They were crying, but they were also clapping. Others joined in. Soon the entire gathering was applauding, not celebrating, just acknowledging, accepting, understanding. After the ceremony, people came up to Taemin one by one. Some hugged him. Some just touched his hand. Some said thank you. Some said I forgive you. Some said nothing at all. One elderly woman, a Velothian with gray scales, stopped in front of him. My daughter was one of the 400, she said quietly. Her name was Sela. She was 23 years old. I'm sorry, Taemin said. I'm so sorry. I know you are, the woman said. I can see it in your eyes. You carry her death. You carry all their deaths. She reached up and touched his cheek gently, but you also carry the lives you saved. Don't forget those. My daughter would want you to remember the living, not just the dead. She walked away before Taemin could respond. He stood there, tears running down his face, feeling both heavy and light at the same time. Kael'thorn's voice rumbled softly behind him. It's time to move forward. Taemin wiped his eyes and nodded. He looked at the memorial wall one last time, at Hana's name shining in silver. I'm ready. Together, human and dragon, they walked toward the transport that would take them back to the station. Back to the ship named Hana, back to the work of saving lives. Behind them, the memorial stood silent and strong. 417 names carved in stone, a reminder of what was lost, and a promise of what would be protected in the future. Taemin looked forward, not back. There was work to do. Lives to save. A galaxy that needed someone who understood the weight of impossible choices. They had called him a monster, but the dragon kneeling beside him had said otherwise. And the galaxy had learned to listen. Now it was time to show them what came next.